Hey guys, JD here, and today I'll be showing you how to install the 316 stainless steel through-hull fittings from KRP. So let's take a look at the factory OEM fitting. Now the thing I don't like about these is that they're plastic. And obviously a through-hull fitting, plastic is not very confidence-inspiring. Now, on this note, Kawasaki on many model years did use a carbon steel nut and washer, and then they blob epoxy or sealant on top of it, and those nuts tend to rust over time. It looks like for 2022, Kawasaki actually updated this to a bronze nut that will hold up a little bit better, but I still see a bunch of rust on this washer, and the bottom line is that this fitting is plastic, so especially if you over tighten a hose clamp, these can break, and they're just not as durable as solid 316 stainless steel. So I'm going to show you how to get these installed. This is KRP's second generation through-hull fitting. These ones have a built-in O-ring which seals against the outside of your hull. And then on the inside you have this nylon washer. You have a locking washer for the nut, and then this stainless steel nut as well that'll go on the inside of your hull like this. You can see that the factory fitting has this rubber piece on the outside here, and then just this washer and nut on the inside. So if you really want to battle-proof your Kawasaki Ultra, this is what you need to install from KRP. All right, let's get these installed.
For the Kawasaki Ultra 310, you're going to have to remove the oil separator, the belt tensioner, the intercooler, the upper exhaust pipe assembly, the port side water box, hoses and ducting, the ride plate, and the jet pump in order to complete this job. I have comprehensive videos on removing each of those components, but I'm going to give you a quick overview of them in this video. First, go through and remove the tension clamps or hose clamps holding the vacuum lines onto the oil separator, and you're going to need to remove all of the cooling feed hoses as well. Next, remove the two 10mm bolts securing the oil separator to the intercooler. Remove the oil separator from the jet ski. Now, remove the 12 and 14mm bolt securing the upper exhaust pipe assembly to the exhaust manifold. There is no need to remove the exhaust manifold for this procedure. Disconnect the clip for the exhaust temperature sensor assembly. Also remove the hose clamp securing the flush port line onto the exhaust pipe. Also loosen the hose clamps on the coupler between the exhaust pipe and the water box. Once all the hoses and couplers have been disconnected, remove the exhaust pipe assembly from the ski. Now we'll have to disconnect all the cooling hoses and ducts from the intercooler in order to remove it from the ski. Start by loosening the hose clamps on the supercharger to intercooler duct and the intercooler to throttle body duct. You'll also have to remove the supercharger relief valve, the BOV, and associated hoses. To make room to remove the intercooler, we'll have to remove the supercharger tensioner assembly. To start, you'll need a spring holder tool. Apply the spring holder tool to the damper spring and remove the tensioner assembly from the jet ski. Next, remove this elbow to the supercharger relief valve and any associated ductwork. Remove the elbow between the intercooler and the throttle body, and disconnect any electrical clips that may be in the way. Next, unbolt the two 12mm bolts that hold the intercooler to the intercooler bracket, and remove the intercooler from the jet ski. Now that you've got the intercooler removed, it's time to remove the port side water box for better access to the through-hull fittings. You're going to do that by loosening the exhaust coupler on the top of the water box. Then, remove the water box from the jet ski by disconnecting the rubber band across it and lifting it out. Now you've got direct access to your through-hull fittings, so let's get started. So here's a look at the factory through-hull fittings. There's a plastic tube with a nut and a washer, and then the nut and washer are encased in this adhesive. So you have to break this adhesive away in order to get to that nut. The adhesive is pliable, it's not really rigid, so I'm going to show you here how I got that adhesive off to get to each nut.
We're also going to cut these plastic pieces off. That's going to make this easier to remove. All right, so you can see that I made a slit in the top of the fitting there. Now I'm going to use a chisel and a hammer just to break that sealant away. All right, so the end game is to expose those nuts. So you can see we've got all the adhesive away, just like right here. And now those nuts are visible. So now we're going to take our 24mm socket, and those should be fairly easy to remove. To show you again, I've got a pair of vice grips on that barb fitting just to hold it in place from this end. And there we go. There's our washer and our nut. So now you can see here's that fitting after it's been removed. So now we got to clean everything up here and get any other excessive adhesive away. So I'm going to clean this all out, and we'll be back in a moment. All right, so now you can see that all of our old plastic through-hole fittings are removed. So now it's time for our 316 stainless KRP through-hole fittings to be installed. Now for this, I recommend that you use 3M 4200 or a similar below the waterline adhesive designed for marine use. Do not use silicone.
So here's a list of the supplies that I used to install these fittings. You'll need acetone, you'll need a 80 grit sanding block, you'll need paper towels, 3M 4000 or 4200 sealant, and a couple pairs of disposable gloves ready to go.
So as you can see, the outside nut has an integrated O-ring that'll seal it. The inside part, the threads, will stick into the hull. So we first want to make sure, and I've already done this, but we want to make sure that there's no extra adhesive that would prevent the mating surfaces from being flush. All right, so go through and use a sanding block or an oscillating multi-tool or a disc sander, whatever you want, to just sand the surface and make sure that the area adjacent to each hull is clear. So we are going to use this product here. This is 3M Adhesive 4000. Now you don't have to use the fast cure and you don't have to use the UV. This is what I had on hand. So we don't want to use 5000 because we want to make sure that if we need to service these in the future, that they're not going to rip apart the fiberglass. Now keep in mind, cures in 24 hours, okay? So we want to make sure that the ski is not going to go into the water within the next 24 hours. All right, so the next step is we need to clean the surface there very good, and we're going to use acetone for that. Don't you just love this rusty can of acetone I have here? You're going to make sure that you clean that area really well to remove any contaminants, and you want to make sure that the 4000 adhesive that we're going to use is going to bond properly. All right, so now I have wiped down this area sufficiently with acetone. So now we are ready for the installation. All right, so now we are back here at the jet pump. The next step is we want to clean up this area around the pump. And for this, I'm using some denatured alcohol. And we just want to clean up any contaminants that might be on the surface of the gel coat here, any grease, any silicone residue, and you're just gonna put them through, just like that. All right, so now we're gonna take our 4000 and we're gonna put a healthy bead around the whole perimeter there. You see that? Make sure you get the bottom too. Don't neglect the bottom. Set that aside. Now we're going to take our washer. Try not to get it all over everything, but you know. And then we're just going to put the washer in place there. And here's our locking washer. I'm going to get that in place. And now here's our nut. Now you want to have a little bit of finesse with this nut. You don't want to push this out, but you also got to get it threaded. So, you know, just take your time and a little bit of finesse. You know, you don't want to turn the part with the O-ring. We don't want to twist the O-ring. But as we tighten this, you can see that you want that 4000 to squeeze out from around the base. And I'm just going to hand tighten this now. I'm going to get them all in, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to give them a torquing. but I just want this 4000 to set up a little bit. Here's our washer. Here is our lock washer. Here is our stainless steel nut. Again, you don't want to push this out, you'd make a real mess. All right, so once we've let these cure a little bit, now the next step is I'm going to take my wrench and we're going to come in, we're going to tighten these up. So that is my final installation. You can see that I put a really thick bead of that 4000 around each of the nuts. And now I'm just going to leave that overnight to cure. All right, so it's worth noting that you could see that I installed these directly against the hull surface because they have that built-in O-ring. But for some applications, the hole drilled out from the factory will actually be larger than the diameter of the base here. So in that scenario, you're actually going to install the washer on the outside of the hull here, and the fitting will go through like this. So then in that scenario, the O-ring will mate against this washer, and it'll seat against the hull like this. So that's an alternative method if by chance the holes drilled in your particular hull are too wide to accommodate the O-ring that's built into these fittings. All right, guys, and this is the finished product. You could see now, you'll see that this one is larger than the other three. This is your bilge pump line. So make sure that your bilge pump line, you use the thicker one with the larger opening, okay? It's got a larger diameter fitting. These are all the smaller one, they're all the same. The larger one is for your bilge line. So don't screw those up.
These fittings are available individually or as a set for both the Ultra, Ultra 310, and the STX 160. These fit on earlier Kawasaki models as well. Pick up your set today at laydynamics.com. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more exclusive jet ski content, only on JD's Waterworld.